Outside of the walls, Bobby followed Midget and Santiago downhill. They took a detour to the side into the forest. Through it, they arrived at a river running not too far from the road. Bobby took a look inside. The water was almost transparent and the bottom perfectly visible. Do you usually get cats here? Not very often, but it doesn't matter. We come here to talk. Diego usually comes along on the rare occasion that he is visiting with his ongoing murder case. Bah, forget about those for now. Maurizio put down the backpack he had been carrying. They had brought 3 fishing rods, some bait, balls of wood, and 2 portable chairs. Sorry, Fatty. I figured if you tried to sit on one of these, you'd quest it. That's fine. Do you even know how to fish? I used to fish with a friend when I was younger. That's never good at tying the hook, though. Big claw hands and all that. The vampire grunted as he prepared Bobby's fishing rod and then handed it to him. After wiggling a worm to the hook, he threw it in the water. The other 2 followed suit shortly after. The sunset's light broke through the leaves, painting the river amidst a faint blue and orange which grew stronger as the green around them was colored in shadows. What a shame the sunset was such a small part of the day. So why are you 2 Alvaro? Santiago was the first one to break the silence. Bobby glanced at him briefly before returning his focus to the water. And his nephew, who used to visit him at least once a year when I was a kid. Interesting. If I'm not mistaken, your family, are they wealthy people? Absolutely. Each one of my family members is the owner of their own company. They dominate each market they touch with innovation, or that's what they say. And family adventures, huh? How did you end up a detective then? They had big plans for me, but I wasn't interested in them. When I finished high school, I took my things and ran off. Haven't been in my old house ever since. That can't be right. Surely there was something else to it. I was a rebellious child. And the silver's name. Sounds like you were one of those pain-in-the-ass teenagers. No use denying it. Bobby gave his fishing rod a tentative pull. He had felt something bite the hook. I'm not living a life as luxurious as I could have, but I don't regret one bit. I never cared much about wealth. I exchange it for the thrill this job gives me any day. I knew you were peculiar, but you don't sound like any detective or law enforcement agent I know of. Why did you start working on security, Santiago? Me, it's a long story. It started as a way to repay William for a favor. Oh, it's another way to what's happening now. He helped me a few years back, so I started working for him once I got into the business. I saw when Paulson's eyes closed as if he had gotten a strong headache. It doesn't matter now. I'm sorry. So how do you end up here, Remigio? Me? The saving lawyers ended up here. I was a monk of knock. I decided to move here to study the arts, and instead I got groomed by some other vampire to become one myself. Never had family or anything of the sort. Lived out in Knox for most of my youth, but I guess this abbey is my home now. I've been here for how long again? 400 years, I think. Phew. I've gotten caught a dinosaur, but shit. Santiago jumped to his feet and pulled. The fish rod bent only to suddenly bounce into its normal state at the same time the possum lost balance and landed on his chair, only narrowly avoiding falling back. Damn it. You almost had it, Santiago. Have you been eating well? You were pretty weak back there. There must be something wrong with this rod. He shifted in his seat and reeled the line back in. His eyebrows furrowed when he saw the tail come out of the water. He had caught something, but it didn't look like a fish and was rather small. Something Bobby could make out where it was the possum tore her off the hook. He stared at his palm with confusion. What the hell? What is it? Santiago turned to the crocodile, who couldn't discern his expression in the dark. While he was about to step closer, the possum closed his hand and, with a fierce swing, threw the thing back into the river as far as possible. Please, don't worry about it. He sat back down, staring at his feet before grabbing more bait to throw the line again. We had our conversation. Surely you had at least someone you used to be close to when you were younger, Remigio. I suppose I was a bit close to the old abbot of this abbey. The one before William. He's the one that got me into this entire vampire business. Really? I would have never guessed. You always spit venom on the guy when brought up. Shut up, Santiago. And Mr. Detective, what's up with that girl? The one that wife here the other day, Alicia. Yeah, you don't see many like her in your line of work. She's a friend's daughter. It's a long story, but the gist of it is that her entire family's either dead or missing. She's been with me for longer than her blood relatives by now. Why does she come along to your little murder mystery adventures? Well, I barely got a say on that. Bonnie let out an amused huff, shaking his head. At first I tried to get her to a job at Nerus church. That's where she stayed every time I was out of town. One day, she got the idea she wanted to be a detective like me. She insisted so much I decided to take her with me on my case. I thought she would get scared, realize she didn't know what she was signing up for now. But that day never came. She's more cold-blooded than me at times. Why he chuckled. She must have gone through a lot. Do you know what happened to her family? No idea. I was a very busy man at the time and had contact with her family for years. Suddenly, her dad called to tell me he needed to go. He would leave Elisa with her mother, and that he wanted me to keep an eye on them. I assumed things didn't end well for the mother. Yeah. The river kept flowing, its surface still. I hope you don't mind me asking, but it sounded like you and our lawyers went through similar circumstances. Immediately let out a confused groan, but then not once he realized what Bonnie was getting at. That's right, he never talked about it, but Vavo told me they found him in some orphanage in some middle of nowhere town. My father thought he was good stuff, so he took him back to the temple. The kid was sociable as a wall, trying to make fun until Frank came along here. Can't blame him. No, poor kid sits mixed up. It's a very unloving world. Well, this has turned depressing. It's getting dark. Want me to stay out the lantern or should we head back? Let's stay around longer. Mauricio wheeled his line back in and put his wire down before taking one of the oil lanterns out of his backpack. It took some fiddling, but he managed to turn it on eventually. Something bit on Bonnie's hook, but he ignored it and let it go. The crocodile looked up at the two moons high in the sky. The moonlight stained everything with blue. Everyone would look, its ghost followed, a reminder of the world's scars. Alicia threads over the rocks with slow steps. She goes around and around, her eyes piercing the space in front of her. Bonnie watches her from below, occasionally turning to the trees behind him. It's starting to get dark. Well, congratulations, Alicia. Let me say again, you performed beyond any expectation. This means I get to work with you now, right? That's right. Bonnie looks back. A leaf is dragged out of the forest to his feet by the wind. More leaves follow in a formation reminiscent of lines of marching ants. They pull under the rock Alicia threads on before making their way up. But I'm curious now. You're so serious about this. Is there a concrete reason you want to become my assistant? I suppose there is. I want real investigative experience and maybe some help. There's someone I want to track down. Do you mean your father? Correct. There are things I want to ask him. But what happened to my brother and the horrible way my mom died. I still remember. My grandpa went through the same. One day he became pale, his hair turned white and his eyes red. He had been like this for as long as I could remember, but I heard he used to look different. And after he died, the same happened to my mother. I remember that too. Gabriella went through a transformation after your grandfather died. Had been taken over by that best described as a chimera. I found that both changed and was changed by her flesh. At least it still feels its presence from time to time when looking down at the saddle. Well, the chimera didn't seem to wake up until she stepped into the abbey. Like it did after she died. At least it stops walking and looks down at the crocodile's silhouette. She's unable to make out his face. Leaves spin around her now, small shields separating her from her surroundings. I don't want to end the same way. Whatever happens, I have to find him and learn what he knows. But what makes you think he knows anything? Say, Nerus, do you want to have children? My ears perk up. Truth be told, I have never given much thought. It was never expected of me to create offspring. Such is your response. Sex reached for one of the pieces sitting on the board and moved it one space up. A smile flashed across his face as the most devilish thought crossed his mind. Do you think a kid of yours will be as strong as you are? Why do you ask? I bet having an army of Neruses would be great news for the safe shelters. Sax started visiting with his tablet. Well, it would be quite disturbing to have children just for that. What am I? A stud? No says one soul is stronger the closer it is to the primordial light. Offspring can inherit or mutate new accidents, just like with genes. Because of that, their soul would be farther from the light than mine, so if I had children, they would most likely be weaker than myself. I moved one of my pieces. Nano sure says lots of strange things. Now, it's part of our teachings. Lisa walks the walk around and around, her every step followed by 12 dry yellow leaves. Body had lost its eyes, mouth, nose, and colors. Have you heard, Sophia? They're going to sell on a name for the bifurcated snake. Lisa comes to a sudden stop. She faces body, leaves flying all around her. Was telling in too not enough? We have always observed it, so what do we gain from this? It might be torn apart now, but both parts are still connected. Yet they are distinguishable. Lisa brings one hand to her chin. They keep imposing essence upon the snake, it will lose its light. They are too blind to realize this, of course. What do you suggest, Sophia? I have an idea, but we were supposed to be close to the snake, yet our senses are flawed, and they keep degrading further as we expand. So much that it hurts our progenitor. But I know why this is. Every time we bask in his light, we are covering ourselves with a mantle, denying our true nature. Is that not why we pair up the way we do when we create? Why we look for our other half, representing the side of the snake that we lack. But we are doing nothing other than delaying the inevitable. The true tragedy in all this is that we'll bring a truly superior being down with us once we fall. Then, what should we do? I'll open their eyes. I will show them the logical conclusion of this. And then our nature will become clear. Bonnie woke Alicia up around 6 a.m. and asked her if she wanted to go grab breakfast. The pale woman was feeling much better and her stomach rumbled with hunger. She hadn't eaten that much last night. Once in the refectory, instead of looking for the spot they usually shared with the knock monks, they went to a different, isolated small table where the police detective with unadorned feathers awaited. Good morning, Bernardo. Good morning, you two. Please take a seat. What is this? You two are all chummer now. Is there any reason we wouldn't be? Well, the crocodile returned Alicia's glance with a completely neutral expression as they sat down. Bonnie grabbed a rather large piece of steak when he proceeded to eat with his bare hands. Alicia did like Bernardo and took some sandwiches on her plate. I'll begin with the progress concerning Giorgio's investigation. As you can imagine, my men are very busy. They haven't finished investigating Giorgio's corpse and they still have to get started with Oscar's. It will take some time before we know anything new. I expected as much. Fortunately, they did inspect the lantern. Unfortunately, it was clean. The culprit did grab it. They were most likely wearing gloves at the time. I suppose that would have made things too easy. The Birdman took a rather large bite of his sandwich and gulped it down before proceeding. Alicia couldn't help but take notice that he and Bonnie shared their ferocious table manners, despite the appearances. Next, progress on Oscar's investigation. I discovered something peculiar in his cell after you two left. Bernardo rubbed his hands before producing a folded piece of paper from his coat. He unfolded it and grabbed it from both ends before pulling it with a grunt. It didn't tear. Little glowing lines materialized on the paper's surface. Blue change. That's a seal of preservation? What sort of magic is this? None of the treasure teach their monks to make and use seals like this one. This is descendant magic. I noticed something was up when I tried lifting this and a few drops of blood slipped right off. Yes, this magic protects the sealed object from any harm, modification, and even from aging. But more importantly, what was it doing in Oscar's cell? Doesn't it make sense that if anyone has access to this magic would be the abbots? I'm not so sure. So we can agree this seems like a promising adventure investigation. Yes, any ideas? Why Lucusti should be on that step. Perhaps he knows about this. If he didn't, that could be a hint by itself. I think. Lisa put her food down and extended her hand to Bernardo. Can I have a look? The paper seemed to be a certificate of a transaction William had taken part in. It was labeled with a 17 in the footer. A plus of confidentiality occupied most of the page. Maggie manages Trish's finances. I guess that she won't know about this, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Will you mind talking to her later, Bernardo? I assume you will look for Lucusti. Yes. Come to think of it, we ever saw him when we first arrived him. Some descendants won't sell themselves unless they are needed or if they feel like it, but I know they try to draw them out. Is it something you learned at Earth Church? They even finished his last sandwich and gob, hands behind his back. I'll look for Maggie then. You can keep the document. It might be more fruitful to sort to Lucusti. Thank you. After the meal, Bonnie and Alicia went to the infirmary. Alicia asked the monk in charge of the greenhouse for permission to grab a few herbs and use the equipment there. They entered the building a few minutes later, with a pouch filled with dry leaves in Alicia's hand. An oil that burned one's nose seeped out of the pouch. What is that? Poison? Of course not. What good would be a poison so smelly? You couldn't use it for anything. But the students love the smell. If we just walk around with this Lucusi, will come to us. How do you know that? Well, back in Earth's treasure, it was an open secret the descendants would occasionally steal herbs to produce these without telling anybody. In order to make them by seeing what ingredients went missing and experimenting. It was great they would trade me food or toys for them. Sometimes I worry about you, Alicia. The pouch dangled from Alicia's finger as they walked aimlessly around the abbey. Winston made their way into the church where a familiar face joined them before too long. Oh, what are you two doing? We were looking for Lucusi. What about you? Shouldn't you be in the library? It's a slow day today. Are you feeling alright? Frank jumped a bit as the crocodile took a step forward and touched his forehead. He wasn't sweating, nor was he too hot, judging from Bayou's pencil grunt. Still, Frank was more jumpy and twitchy than usual, and he wouldn't stop looking at Alicia's way. Alicia reciprocated his attention in such measure she didn't see it coming when a blue hand snatched the pouch from her hand. Ah! How did you come to possess of this? Lisa's mouth hung open in a dumbfounded expression for an instant. I made it myself. A wide smile on his face, the descendant brought the pouch to his nose, took a deep sniff, and then breathed out. We were looking for you, by the way. We need your help. Yes, this is good. But do tell, how can I help you? If it is about the murders, I'm afraid I know nothing. Even if I did, I can't get involved. I know your duty only is to keep demonic influence out of these walls, but it wouldn't hurt you to help us, you know? Are you chastising me? No, I'm telling you that I can make more of that if you cooperate. Consider it a personal exchange. Reasonable, although I do have another condition. Teach me how to make more. We have a deal. He doesn't know? I'm assuming the descendants at Earth's Church had the same idea I did. This might be the one favor we'll get out of him then. Better make it count. Alicia saw by an inquisitive look. The crocodile nodded as he wrapped an arm around Frank's shoulders. What are you still doing here? What are you doing still here, Frank? Come, let's take you back to the library. But Lucusi watched the detective drag the mother away, tail swishing side to side, and face perking up like a cat's ears. Lisa cleared her throat as she produced an enchanted piece of paper. The police found this in the most recent crime scene. Have you ever seen it before? This, of course, William had me steal it from him. Of course, William had me steal it for him. Alicia covered her mouth and attempted to hide her surprise. Because she blinked, his pupils became delayed, and he hunched close to Alicia. She took a step back before clearing her throat again. That's great news. Did you have a chance to read the document while you were enchanting it, or did he say anything about it? Everything. I don't know the details, but I'm aware of this document pertaining to some project he was carrying out alongside the other abbots. Since by his time, William was worried about people finding out about this, but he also didn't want to get rid of or lose the document. They were double-edged sword of sorts for him. But he had you preserve them. I wonder what for. Indeed, that William was one paranoid fellow. And of course you act as if you didn't have anything to do with this. I guess even the abbots are just short-lived, replaceable humans in the eyes of the descendants. But still, this is interesting. At least they couldn't even start guessing as to what the project in question was, but what mattered was that William intended to keep evidence of his existence for himself. It was, as Kusti described, perhaps he meant to use those documents as leverage in case of the other abbots took in case one of the other abbots took acts against him, or did he intend to go on the offensive? But how did this find its way into Oscar's cell? Did Oscar murder Giorgio, or did Giorgio's killer pay him a visit? Either way, whoever murdered Oscar must have the rest of this file now. If we assume only the abbots are aware of the significance of the file, then that must be the killer is. Thanks so much to Kusti. This would be of much help. Oh, sucks. Don't even mention it. So, will you teach me about the Hers now? Bonnie and Lisa reunited at the infirmary minutes later. I see. We need to make sure the abbots don't depart today, now that they are suspects. We can do that? It's worth a try. Technically, they are Maggie's superiors, but as long as she is an acting abbot, her word is final. Sure, but we can't hold them here against their will without good reason. We'll try to convince them naturally, but I think Maggie might be willing to take drastic measures if there's a chance one of them is our killer. Her keeping the abbots here against their wishes will destroy her career once this is over. I hope it won't come to that. I hope Bernardo still is with her. He'll want to hear this. I also had a little chat with Frank, but let's talk about that when the three of us are together. I see. Ridiculous. We have our own churches we must return to, so we'll be going. A raspy voice came out the throat of the man holding the cane. Brandis and Alvaro were facing Bitey, who was standing behind his desk. Elisa and Bernardo stood at the other side of the crocodile. Maggie was observing the conversation next to one of the windows. After that little outburst, Brandis seemed to regain his composure and spoke with a solemn expression, resting both of his hands on top of his cane. I can see why the descendant's words make you think we might be involved in this nasty incident, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know what this document could specifically be about. We are all busy men, after all, and this is but one page of it. But there are a variety of reasons William could want to preserve them. Perhaps they held emotional value for him, like a fond memory of business he had pending. This double-edged sword business is just a creature's conjecture. He's not wrong. We can't know for sure from the Custis were alone. The Brandis closed his eyes and nodded. Alvaro threw a not too discreet glare at Lisa's way. Indeed, he isn't even human. It's only natural he doesn't understand these matters. Do you know why Giorgio tried to retrieve this then? Are you sure this is why he broke into the church? If Giorgio died as soon as he entered the study, then there's no way we can prove he was looking for the missing file. Besides, with this document's contents being unknown to us, you can't confirm it would be of interest in only to us abbots. Anyone could have stolen it. Brian nodded as he waited for the elder to finish speaking. He put his hands together and closed his eyes, weighing which words would be best to get Brandon to go along with what he was planning. If only his uncle hadn't decided to come as well, he thought. Perhaps he could convince Brandon to cooperate, but he expected Alvaro to oppose any proposition on the spot. A small smile formed on his face as he mused about how his poor relationship with his family might finally come back to bite him. I believe we started on the wrong foot. And then call you here to accuse you on any of your co-workers at Abbott. Rather, I want to talk about the weather connections around this case. You might not be the perpetrators, but you are still trapped within it. Looking at the victims in the crime scene, the only link between the victims is their profession and as abbots and the presence of this missing file. There are a couple of ways I can explain how the page found its way into Arthur's cell, but I can't prove which one is the truth, so let's put that aside for now. And this we consider the possibility that an enemy of Williams had infiltrated Abbott, and after George's death, I thought their revenge might have extended to the other Abbotts as well. Now I believe the idea might have been right, but I was thinking it from the wrong angle. Perhaps or not, Abbott was the primary target, and William wound up as the first victim of our bad luck. Do you know anyone who might qualify, or have you seen suspicious individuals during your stay here? Maybe someone vaguely familiar. Brandis rested both hands on his cane, closed his eyes as he considered the crocodile's words. I can't speak for the others, but nothing comes to mind. I didn't see anyone unusual this year. Me neither. Well, I'm not surprised, but this creates a problem for all of us. I see. You're going to say the suspicion falls on us since there are no other suspects. But quit searching yourselves to clear your name of any suspicion. That way you can prove you do not have the missing file. I see what you are doing. Buddy stared at Alvaro, responding with only a quiet smile. Everyone but him perked up when Alvaro started stepping closer to the desk, his eyes filled with accusatory anger. You still suspect us, don't you? You think your culprit is getting away, so you're trying to use anything you can to keep us here at least one more day? Well, we won't be seeing Duck while there's a maniac inside these walls that is targeting us. We'll leave him in 1 hour. We'll leave him in the next hour. We are scheduled to do. I have to agree with Alvaro, detective. It is simply too risky for us to remain in this abbey now that it is apparent we are being targeted. Now that is all. Brandis got up from his seat and started walking toward the door with Alvaro. Maggie was about to interject when Bernard stepped in their way. I'm afraid it won't be that simple, sir. What is it now? You can ignore the detective's request if you wish, but I'm afraid the police department will also ask you to stay just a while longer. What? Are we being suspected in an official capacity? I'm afraid that is the case. I promise things will go smoothly if you cooperate. You piece of... That's enough, Alvaro. The elder raised a hand, blocking the son of Crocodile's way. Alvaro stared at Bernardo with clenched fists, but stepped back. Fine. Search ourselves. You insist this is absolutely necessary. I suppose we can spare another day. Yeah, my things. They even stepped aside. We'll go grab a snack. Come, Alvaro. The sound of Brandis' cane accompanied his every step as he exited the study and ordered the guards outside to follow him. Alvaro turned to the investigators on his way out. Don't expect things to remain like this, detective. What was that? He's never liked it when things don't go his way. Bobby said with a distant look in his eyes. The conversation from a moment ago was no doubt playing in his mind. The desk's chair creaked as he sat down on the edge, his thick tail occupying most of the seat. Did you figure something out? I'm thinking about Giorgio. Something has been bugging me for a while now. Let's assume we are on the right track. He went to William's study to steal the missing file. How do you know to look there? What do you mean? The file could not have been in William's study. It could have been in his cell or a secret location. Is it possible someone told Giorgio where it was? All the eyes in the room turned to Bobby. His claws tapped the desk rhythmically as the gears inside his head turned. It could explain what took him so long to make his move. He didn't know where to look until told, in which case his informant lured him straight to his death. He didn't know to say beforehand, right, Maggie? I would have told you about it if I did. I figure only those closest to William would be privy to the safe location, and that points us to William's inner circle. I can't see any of them being involved in this. We have to look into it. We need to determine the role William's Circle and the Atlas play in this. It's the only avenue of investigation we have left. Maggie bit her lips and shook her head. I understood. The crocodile stood up. Today's objective will be to find this out. If we are talking to the Abbey staff again, then I suggest we start with Tom. You sound very confident. Tom stayed in bed today. He seemed to have recovered from yesterday's episode, but said he was feeling ill. Since my comments are busy, I'll have to inspect the Abbott cells myself. Not a very productive use of my time, but as long as it helps keep them here. Let's get to work, everyone. And Lisa, you seem full of plans today. Lead the way. Oh, sure. Except for staying in a common cell that nevertheless looked a bit too big for his lonesome self sitting on the bed. He immediately started fizzing when the investigators arrived. By his side, glanced at Lisa before stepping toward the nervous man. His clothes were crumpled and his hair looked like a cow had lived it. He started scratching his arm, only then body noticed a pink rash that started on his hand and spread out on his sleeve. Tom, we need to have a word with you. What is it? Are you afraid of us? I just don't have anything to say. I know nothing. Tom's voice came out forced and raspy. Had he gotten sick overnight? Elisa stared closer, her gaze on the cooked rasp. Tom, there's something you should know. Sometimes the medicine we concoct in Earthshires doesn't have the intended effects. Wait, where are that? No. Why? Good. I'm afraid I omitted a little detail about yesterday's medicine. The concoction can have a side effect which forces an allergic reaction. What? That's what you're experiencing. Right now you are in the initial stages, but if untreated the effects will grow stronger. It's nothing life-threatening, of course. Lisa got closer and sat on the feet of Tom's bed. The man's face was growing pink about a minute and sweat drops were starting to accumulate on his forehead. But the side effects become very painful as time goes on. I heard stories of people who became unable to speak or breathe and whose muscles became inflamed and were in constant pain. We don't know how long this lasts if left alone, but since it's an adverse reaction to magic, it's reasonable to think it might not go away at all without the help of an earth follower. But don't worry, as long as I'm here, I can see you are awakened. I can see you are taken care of properly. There's just one little issue. If we don't get any new clues about our case, the suspects will run away and we might be forced to return home. Sure, the church can call some other Earth monk or nun if it comes to that. But how long will it take to reach them and for them to send help? Especially now that their abbot is dead too. And looking at you, I figure you'll start experiencing the worst symptoms by tomorrow. That can't be. I'm serious. I'm the only one who can help you now. I understand. Tom wiped the sweat off his face. I am hiding something, but I generally believe it has nothing to do with these murders. I was just trying to protect William's memory. Whether what you know is related to the case or not is for us to judge. If you sincerely mean this, then you don't have anything to fear. We won't go around divulging your and William's private information. We were all this, except for Maggie, are right here together. I take it you mean William's Circle. Yes, we were all co-workers prior to coming here. The complete story is a rather long tale, but our job wasn't precisely on the clean type. I'm sure you've encountered cases such as this before considering your career. A group of thugs muscling their way into a position of power, yes. It's not that weird of a sight. I suppose that's not wrong, but I wasn't a thug, no. Tom raised one of his rather pathetic arms and looked at body and eye before dropping it. My job was gathering intelligence for William. There's much you can learn by working on the right establishment or even in the White House. Haven't figured you were a spy. I don't blame you. As a wife at this era, I decided I would never go back to that kind of life. Not even if William asked me to. Those days are long behind us. There's no need to dig out in the past. But you still fear we would suspect William's past was related to the case if we learned about it. He isn't that worried about William's reputation. He just doesn't want the things he and the others in the circle did to come to light. So that's what he did. But what about William? It could bit his lips, but his silence didn't last long on the body's stern skates. His cell was a repelled demon influence. His job was to repel demon influence. Even after 1,000 years, the world hasn't fully recovered. On the contrary, there are new wounds that keep becoming wider. Demonic influence and the monsters it brings are abominations. Tom stopped for an instant to recover his breath. How do you think the seven deal with demons? They let the descendants do that. Yes, but the descendants only inhabit churches. There are plenty of places they don't reach, even within the cities where they are located. As powerful as they are, without numbers they can't cover a considerable area. Not to mention they refuse to operate outside their territories. That's where groups like the one we used to belong to come into play. It doesn't sound like you were hunters. Right, we didn't have a name, but we were lookouts watching over our city. We only acted if there were signs of demonic influence with our superiors near us. Well, most of the time. But then you say you did espionage. What does that have to do with demons? The descendants aren't the only ones that had the idea to use humans. Demons have been employing the same strategies for centuries. I don't think we ever dealt with an actual demon, only followers of theirs, doing their bidding and spreading their corruption. That's where the unsavory part of the job resides. Not to scare abominations, the byproducts of demons. We eliminated any fellow human being assisting them. But I assumed that wasn't all. Yes, with this kind of job come many leader types. Ones that are caused by ambitious and ruthless. Competitive. I wasn't privy to everything. He was just a spy, but from what I heard, William made many sacrifices to get where he was. And not only demon worshippers. Rival lookouts, noisy civilians, anyone who could get in his way. And the church and the descendants cover this all up? I'm not sure I believe you. It's true. Please believe me. You are telling us the former abbot chose a criminal as a successor, and is that so hard to believe? Do you think he got this position? Is it not the truth that the succession process is a secret to everyone outside the church's upper ranks? I guess that's true, but it's hard to take any of this as face value. We need evidence. I wonder if that missing file is related to this. In the last abbot, he didn't even bear an eye when his son died. Tom started nervously scratching his head, ruffling his already messy hair further. Money, what do you think? Oh, none of my family deals with the most unsavory individuals since I was very young, but I ran away before they properly introduced me to that part of the business. I don't believe he's lying. He knows his life and not being a waking hell depends on us being satisfied with his explanation. Was he lying? Will he not make up a more grounded story? But why would the deities allow this? And now question that. I suppose William might have known, but it's a little too late to ask. I suppose your position was too comfortable to risk it by asking unnecessary questions. I have to insist that we aren't murderers. I and Ben never killed anyone. Amelia has worked for William's family from before he was born, and Maggie doesn't even have anything to do with our past. Santiago's the only one with blood on his hands, even then the fate was never kind to him. I struggle to imagine where he'd be nowadays if he hadn't met William. We had no motive to kill him or any of the other abbots. Do you have any other ideas? You keep looking for someone with a rational motive, Detective, but this whole thing is madness. Whoever's behind this must be crazy. Not only killing, but making enemies with 3 of the churches. Last question, did you or any of your co-workers tell Georgia or any of the evidence of the safe in Williams study? What? Of course not. Are you positive? Tom's messy hair seemed to dance as he nodded. The crocodile closed his eyes, tail dragging on the floor behind him as he processed all this. This information indeed seems to work against someone in Williams' circle being a culprit, but it also opens up a few new avenues. What's our next step? We'll verify what we just learned. Verify? Bonnie walked out of the room. Lisa was about to follow him when Tom called out for her. Wait, what about my treatment? Oh, that was a prank. I just spiced up your medicine a little. What? You'll feel better tomorrow. Goodbye. What is it this time? Afraid the squirrel paused on the end to study. Bonnie gestured to a chair in front of the couch with one hand, but Santiago just crossed his arms and stared at the detective with a pout. Shoot yourself then. I wanted to ask you a favor, Santiago. Can you summon your master key? What do you want it for? Can't Maggie help you with that? No, I don't need to use the key. I just wanted to see it. Santiago's features softened, but his tail and ears perked up. Can I get back to you with this later? I forgot my master key in my cell today. I admit I've been a bit disoriented with all that's been happening as of late. Santiago, you're lying through your teeth. You insist we can accompany you to your cell right now, but why don't you save us the hurdle? Damn you. When did you notice? What clued me in was the way he behaved when Tom had his little episode yesterday. It was strange you hadn't opened the closet door yourself. And when did you ask Amelia for a key? I didn't believe you to be so ass about it. You forget about your master key, so I figured something else was up. Was it stolen or did you loan it to somebody? I think it must have been stolen. Take a seat, please. We need to talk. Santiago dragged the chair back and dropped on it. A pink hue was starting to appear in his eyes. Bonnie prepared himself to take notes. Now, when did you notice your master key was missing? It was during the night before Giorgio died. When I headed back to my room, I noticed my master key was missing. Lately, I do carry my cell's key with me, for obvious reasons. It's very fortunate for you, Santiago. Congratulations. It is? Unless someone is executing a very convoluted scheme to frame you, it's unlikely anyone in the average circle is the killer. Why would they steal your master key if they had their own after all? Oh, Huh. He should have just told us instead of trying to hide it. Maybe that's why the culprit took his key. Perhaps our killing is familiar with Santiago's character. But if the murder managed to obtain a master key, why were there two church keys missing? Next topic. We learn about William's past. Is there any information you were previously hiding that would help us with our investigation? Has an old enemy you think could be behind this? William's past. Does the word lookouts ring any bells? How do you... whatever. There's no piece of information you detectives will try to get your grubby hands on. No, I can think of a few people who will celebrate his death, but no one inside this abbey. Let me say this. You are assuming the culprit might be an enemy of Williams just because the murders are taking place in that abbey and he was the first victim. But the killer might have a bone to pick with another abbot. There's a chance that other abbots are hiding similar dark past, yes. I suspect my friend might have been involved in what William was doing. You wouldn't happen to know about that, would you? I'm sorry, we worked only on the Smith's church, so I don't know if the others ran similar operations. I have always assumed they did. Finally, we have a suspicion someone in the circle told Giorgio the safe. What can you tell us about this? I don't know. Why would any of us do that? It doesn't make sense to me. My eyes raised off this notebook. Santiago had been struck silent, his eyes tense with the weight of suspicion. Is this all you need from me, detective? Yes, actually. Do you realize something? I want to continue this talk tomorrow if you would be so kind. There is something I need to make sure of. Santiago looked to the side to one of the curtains. I understand. That is all then. The parson apologized some more before excusing himself out of the study. Lisa got up to stretch her legs while Bobby went over his nose, murmuring something to himself. Strange. Bobby didn't press Santiago at the end there, so I wonder if he already knows what he realized. Come, to think of it. Buddy, I've been meaning to ask you something. It's not strictly related to the case, I believe. What is it? Yes, I didn't pay much mind, but I've been thinking about that necklace Aloy sold you. Does it mean anything to you? I don't understand why you were so convinced to let him go when you saw it. That seems my turn to show off my ecclesiastic knowledge. The first time I saw a gem like the one on his necklace was on a ring my uncle was wearing. It's a gem granted to those not himself favors. Someone in possession of one has a serious connection to him. Bobby lowered his voice briefly. It can also be used in the ritual to contact Knock, which is usually on the abbot is privy to. But don't tell anyone. That's supposed to be a secret. I see. And mind you, Aloysius' gem is larger than the one my uncle used to wear. Huh? What does that mean? Does not prefer this month to be the abbot's abbey? Perhaps he intends him to succeed your uncle one day. That's not quite it. Remember, the abbots enjoy the right to choose his successors. Why am I getting the feeling you know the answer because you read that letter but expected me to figure out the answer on my own? It's always good to give you something to think about, no? And talk about that. Here's something else you can think about. Remember Santiago's testimony just now. His key was stolen that night before Joseph's death. We gave us testimony no one else could verify it, but if we took it at face value, would clear them of suspicion. Oh, come on. Keep thinking, Alicia. While you're at it, follow me. We should give Bernardo an update on our findings. There he is. Bernardo was exiting one of the cells on the second floor when they came across him. His shoulders were limp and his feathers more ruffled than usual. He did go back to his usual disposition when he noticed the other two approaching, however. "Hello, you two. Got good news, I'm guessing." Bonnie and Alicia brought the bird up to date regarding the conversation they had with Thomas Santiago. He nodded as they spoke, but became dejected again once they finished. "I admit I'm disheartened you couldn't pin Giorgio's source regarding the safe." "Don't you worry, you'll hear about it. We're close to the incident, it seems." "So you do know?" "I haven't educated a guess. But for now, let's talk about what will happen next. I think it will help us arrive at the truth." Riley stuffed his hands in his pocket and gestured toward the door to his and Alicia's cell. "What I'm thinking is, what do you think will happen if we fail to find the missing file and any evidence? Since the animals can't destroy it, they'll take it with them naturally." "I see. They won't have anywhere to hide them there except for their quarters. Unless they throw it into the sea. But when they do that, things just seal the file will destroy the soil eventually. Even if it's only a small chance and undesirable could discover it eventually. We should still keep an eye on them, just in case." "Agreed." Bernardo nodded, but the tingle of certainty weighing down his brows didn't dissipate in the least. "Is there something else in your mind?" "There's nothing relevant." "Well, I do have a question. What does this have to do with arriving at the truth, as you put it? When you have a suspect and an idea of what could be motivating them, it becomes possible to estimate what they'll do next, Alicia. And all that's left them is verifying your findings. If your formula is correct, then things will play out just as expected." "I don't get it. The evidence getting 100% makes sense whether one of them is the culprit or not. How will that help? Or is there something else you are expecting to happen soon, Bonnie?" "This is interesting, but I still return to my task at hand now. Someone needs to search those cells as thoroughly as possible. Before you go, I want to let you know that I had a chance to ask Frank about Alois sneaking out at night. He passed his story and claims he didn't mention it because he was afraid it would get him in trouble. And that it almost did. To be honest, I wasn't entirely convinced that we should let him go. Good for him that a murder took place while he was under our custody. With that, I'll see you two later." Trying to not get Sally at. Bernardo smiled briefly before turning around and walking out of the cell. "Alright, what's next? Personally, I'm out of ideas. What about the doubts we had over Ben? As we discussed earlier, he must have been nervous about us possibly figuring out William's past. I guess we can try looking for the missing file. I was thinking of talking to Maggie. We should let her know we'll also need a spot at the farm soon. Do you think it will come to that? I don't mean to discourage you, Alicia, but it is our best shot. We might need a spot for Bernardo too." "Huh? Why him? Will his boss let him board a sit with us?" Alicia squinted at the crocodile. "Is there something you're not telling me?" Bonnie's eyes shot open. Had he been able to stick his tongue out enough to bite it, he would have done it. He would have done so at that very moment. "Ah, me and my huge snout. There are advantages of him being used to wedding in front of me. Will you explain or is this something else I should figure out by myself?" "No, I wasn't hiding it from you because of something like that, Alicia. We talked last night and he asked me to not let anyone know. Have you noticed how Bernardo came here with only 2 other men?" "Wait, don't tell me they aren't even officers." "Calm down, they are. Well, the police here are still under orders to not look into this case. They came here knowing they were there would be consequences, and Bernard intends to cover for the other two. I bet what my uncle said earlier today was directed at him. If the department doesn't know of this yet, then they will very soon. I suppose that explains why he waited until the last moment to force the Abbots to stay. Are they really going to ignore the other murders too? Now that the Abbots obtain what they want, I suspect the police will be allowed to officially investigate. Whether they leave the case unsolved or find someone to find doesn't matter to them. The Abbots safe. The Abbots' secret is now safe. That doesn't make sense, yes. I was wondering why you turned so soft on him all of a sudden. Did his foolhardy ways touch your heart? Probably like a guttural woman and looked away. Let's think about this after the case is closed. Right. So I'll go explain the situation to Maggie. You could come with me, or if you feel like it, you could investigate on your own. Are we splitting up? We need to use our time as efficiently as possible. There you go, talk to Maggie. I'll come with you. I'll come with something to do on my end. Ryan nodded. He gave Alicia's head a single pat as he passed by her. Alicia took a moment to gather her wits before going out into the hallway. Still unsure whether to investigate, she followed her stomach to the Abbey's kitchen. So we got to see Sax and Nerus again. So it looks like these two stories, Sax and Nerus and Alicia and Bidey, are connected somehow. Because there's a flashback in which Alicia, in which Bidey allowed Alicia, at least Bidey finally allowed Alicia to become his detective. And they were talking about Alicia's father and about the fact that he had that the family gradually started to get blonde hair and red eyes. Some kind of disease they have. And that afterwards it went straight to a scene between Nerus and Sax. And Sax asked Nerus if he was planning on having children. I think Nerus said no, but they were on about the topic of having children, and the fact that, and Sax saying that he believes that if Nerus had children, they'd be strong, just like Nerus. They would really cause a lot of damage. And Nerus basically said if he had children, they'd probably be weaker than him. Because, Nerus is a wolf with white fur and red eyes. So, I do not know why as soon as Alicia talked about her father, her family having this disease, it went straight to a conversation between Nerus and Sax about Nerus potentially having children, and the fact that if he had children, they'd be a lot weaker than him. Could there be a connection somehow between Alicia and madness? Alicia and narrow madness? I have no idea. Probably is some kind of connection between these two stories, between the two characters, well, all the main characters from these two stories. So, what else? What else I gotta say? Yeah, that scene where Bobby interrogates Tom, and then Alicia tells him that he has a disease and that only she can help him. And then once they finally got everything they want from Tom about William, once they got everything they wanted from William and Bonnie left, Tom finally told Tom that basically that she lied and that what he was having was just some kind of regular cold, that he was feeling better the next day. There's not some serious illness it's not some serious long-term chronic illness that he has. So she basically lied to get him to talk. Yeah, funny there. That's one funny scene there. And at the very beginning of chapter 1, we saw the hunters, while Alicia was on the ship heading towards the island. I think it makes them kind of stop when they saw the two hunters, that cheetah hunter and the human, take out some kind of abomination, and those abominations were kind of like, I think, remnants of demons that afflicted the earth a millennia ago after the big apocalyptic event, and that William and Tom and some of the other prominent people in the church, William and Tom certainly, they were part of some type of group that combat these abominations and demons, since the descendants wouldn't go beyond their territories to fight these demons. Like, the descendants would fight the demons, but only in their territory. They wouldn't go outside their territory to fight demons. So humans like William and Tom had to fill the void and fight demons and these creatures in areas where descendants were not available or wouldn't come. So yeah, I'm very intrigued about that scene between Sax and Nerus, and how they can relate to this story between Lisa and Bobby. I have my thoughts, but I'm not gonna say them right now. I'll wait till later on in the chapter to say my thoughts. But I do have some theories. So anyway, that's all for now. All the information from the game in the description box below. Next time we'll continue with chapter 1. I think there's like 2 more videos to go until we're done with chapter 1. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.